everybody, this is Sison, the Professional-in-Pajamas, also known as Accountant-in-Pajamas. Again, this is Philtaxes, a publication of Sison, Parone and Company. And today, we will be discussing a very, very important law which everybody will be happy. This is what we call as the Tax Amnesty Law, which has been recently approved by the present administration. So, Tax Amnesty Law, which I think everybody will be happy with this one. Okay, so let us start with the tax amnesty types that is being covered by this new law. Okay, so there are three types of tax amnesty. The first one is what we call as the general tax amnesty. Again, general tax amnesty. I will discuss to you the details later on, but let us focus first on the three types. The second type of amnesty is what we call as tax amnesty on delinquencies. Again, it's tax amnesty on delinquencies. And the third type is actually what we call as estate tax amnesty. What do we mean by estate tax? When someone dies and there are a lot of assets or properties being left to the heirs, obviously there should be what we call as estate tax, which at the end of the day should be paid to the government. And we will discuss the details later on. So again, the three types of tax amnesty is general tax amnesty on delinquencies, estate tax amnesty. So these are the three types. Now, maybe you have read in the newspaper, you have watched in the TV, and you have heard in the radio that the President has vetoed the tax amnesty, and he actually vetoed the general tax amnesty, which is the first type of tax amnesty. So of all the three tax amnesties, only the general tax amnesty has been vetoed, and the effective one will be the tax amnesty on delinquencies and estate tax amnesty.
This video is brought to you by etax.ph, a better and improved tax preparation and filing system accredited by the BIR. Taxes made easy with etax, a free online tax preparation and filing system. Sign up now. It's free.
What is the coverage of the tax amnesty? The coverage will be for taxable year 2017. Ulitin ko, the coverage will be for taxable year 2017 and prior years. Meaning, any tax types, any tax delinquencies from previous years up to 2017. Obviously, the 2018 is not covered. So, I think that should be clear. And part of the coverage is that will cover all national taxes with or without assessments. Ulitin ko lang. All national taxes with or without assessments. So, that is basically the coverage of the tax amnesty. Now, what is now the national internal revenue taxes that is included here? There are many tax types, but here are the rundown of the taxes that is being covered here. Number 1, income tax. Number 2, withholding taxes. Number 3, capital gains tax. Number 4, donors tax. Number 5, value-added tax. Number 6, other percentage taxes. Number 7, excise tax. And number 8, documentary stamp tax. Okay, so we will discuss later on the details of the amnesty, but take note that these 8 tax types, I suppose you know this already, but as we go along, you may research already the meaning of these taxes. Okay, so let us go back now to the first tax amnesty, which is what we call as general tax amnesty. So what is the inclusions of this tax amnesty? Again, as I mentioned earlier, the inclusion or the coverage will be all unpaid taxes as of December 31, 2017. So, take note, December 31, 2017 and prior years. And what would be the tax rate or the amount that will be paid as part of the amnesty that will be paid to the government so that at the end of the day, we will be able to avail of this amnesty? Now, there are two options on this one. The first option is basically we pay 2% of total assets. For accountants, I think it's much easier for you to understand this one. When we say total assets, it's basically in the balance sheet, you have there the assets, the liabilities, the shareholders' equity. So basically, the option one is actually you pay 2% of total assets, which means if you have a total asset of 10 million, you need to pay 200,000 to avail of the amnesty. If your total asset is 100 million, you need to pay 2 million to avail of the tax amnesty. That is the first option. The second option is actually to pay amnesty based on the total net worth. Again, for accountants, total net worth means total assets minus the total liabilities is the total net worth. So basically, that's basically the computation on how you determine the total net worth. Now, what is the rate based on the total net worth? So the rate is basically, there are two possibility now. One is you are an individual or other entity or a corporation. Now, if you are an individual, sole proprietor or individual taxpayer, the rate is 5% of the net worth. But the question now is, what is the rate that I will use for me to pay? So, the rate will depend if you are an individual or if you are a corporation. So, if you are an individual, the rate is 5% of the total net worth. Or 75,000, ulitin ko lang, 5% of the total net worth or 75,000, whichever is higher. For example, your total net worth is 500,000. 5% of 500,000 is how much? 5 times 5, that is 25. So, the amount that you should pay is 25,000 or 75,000. The rule says that whichever is higher is 75,000, so you need to pay 75,000. So basically, that's the rule. The option for corporation varies depending on the total net worth of the company. The first level is the company has below 5 million net worth. If the company has below 5 million net worth, the tax that should be paid or the amnesty tax that should be paid will be 5% of the net worth or 100,000, whichever is higher. So if the company has a net worth of 1 million times 5%, that is 50,000. So 50,000 compared with the 100,000, the company should pay the 100,000 because that is higher. Okay, so that's the first level. The second level is the net worth which has 5 million to 20 million. If the company has a net worth of 5 million to 20 million, the company now should pay 5% or 250,000, whichever is higher. So the computations will be similar, 5% or 250,000, whichever is higher. If the company has a net worth of 20 million to 50 million, that's the third level. 20 million to 50 million, it's 5% or 500,000, whichever is higher. So the computations is similar. And for those companies who have a net worth of above 50 million, that's the fourth level, above 50 million, the company should pay 5% or 1 million, whichever is higher. So if the company now has, say for example, a total net worth of 60 million, If you compute 60 million times 5%, that is equivalent more or less to 300,000 only. So, 300,000 as compared to the 1 million, you need to pay, 1 million, which is higher. Okay? So, that's the case for the rates for the corporation. Now, on the other hand, for entities who have negative net worth, how about if our company has negative net worth? If it has a negative net worth, the company should pay a minimum of 75,000 pesos. Regardless of amount, as long as it is negative, the company should pay 75,000 to avail of the tax amnesty. Okay? So, that's it. So, there are some, you might ask a question, what would be the basis? Is it the SALN or is it the balance sheet? Is it the... For certain companies or for certain taxpayers, they have what we call as audited financial statements. Now, what will happen now if there is no audited financial statement? You can have the SALN, you can have the statement of total assets, which can be verified by someone who is competent enough to issue that statement. So, you just need to visit the tax law and avail of that basis and check on how you can have the basis. Okay, so now, as far as the effectivity of the IRR, this is very, very critical because you might ask the question, when should I pay? Can I pay it 2 years from now, 3 years from now? Now, I'll give you the rates if when you pay within 1 year, within 2 years, or within 3 years. So, there are 3 levels. You might ask me now, yun ba talaga ang babayaran? Is it the exact amount that I should pay? Is there a way to reduce it? Yes, the answer is yes. That is why I will give you now the rates. Say for example, the implementing rules and regulations or the IRR was released on February 1, just for example, if you pay and avail of the tax amnesty within 3 months, which is what we call as on or before the 3rd calendar month, on or before on the 3rd calendar month, there is a reduction of 20%. So, ibig sabihin yan, pag mas maaga, mababawasan pa ng 20% reduction ang babayaran mong tax. However, if you avail of the tax amnesty after the 3rd month, and until the 6th month, so 3rd month to 6th month, the reduction will be 15%. Mababawasan pa ang babayaran mo by 15%. But if you avail of the tax amnesty after the 6th month and until the 9th month, ang reduction will be only 10%. So, bumababa ang reduction. So, you will ask now, how about if I pay after 9 months? So, the reduction, there will be no more reduction because the IRR or the tax amnesty law will be effective only within 1 year from the time the IRR is being released. So, you should pay within that 1 year. And also, for the availment, what will you do now? You need to file the tax. When you avail it, you need to file a tax return and you need some documentations. The number 1 document that you should have is what we call as Sworn General Tax Amnesty Return. That is the form that you should fill up. The another document that is being required is the notarized STA, what we call as Statement of Total Assets, STA, or SALN, Statement of Assets and Net Worth as of December 31, 2017. And also, you need to pay the amnesty tax, which is being computed, and at the end of the day, you should pay it and avail of the tax amnesty within 1 year from the effectivity of the IRR. So, when the IRR is released, within 1 year, you should pay and avail of that tax amnesty. So, what are now the privileges when you pay or when you avail of this tax amnesty? Obviously, you will be immune from payment of taxes arising from failure to pay for taxable year 2017 and prior years. Immune. Anong ibig sabihin ng immune? No one can audit you, no one can assess you, even the BIR can assess you for any tax liability when you avail of that tax amnesty law. The second one is the information or data declared in your amnesty tax return, in your statement of tax total assets and your sal-in shall be confidential. Say for example, for me, if I have 1 billion in my total assets when I file it with the BIR, obviously that should be confidential. Dapat hindi lumabas. So no one should know it. Okay? So again, that's part of the immunities and privileges when you file a tax amnesty. Tax amnesty, I believe this tax amnesty law. And the last one basically is your books of accounts for the years 2017 and prior years, as long as you have availed of all these years, shall not be examined by the BIR. Hindi na kayo i-audit, wala na. So that is now the three benefits or immunities and privileges when you avail of this tax amnesty law. Parang magiging mawawala lahat ang headache mo. Okay, regarding tax audit. So that is all for our general tax amnesty. If you have questions, you can actually email me at nuseason@scp-ph.com, or you can text or call me at 0917-534-4686. Okay? So, or you can visit our website, Philtaxes.com. Okay? Now, we will now go to the second tax amnesty type, which is what we call as tax amnesty on delinquencies. But the first question is, what is a delinquency? A delinquency is actually an amount, a tax assessment, or any amount that you have not paid on which the decision is final and executory. I'm not a lawyer, but you can consult a lawyer for him to discuss to you what does final and executory means. But as far as I know it, final and executory means there is now a final assessment from the BIR, final assessment notice, or an FDDA or final letter of demand coming from the BIR, in which it has been decided that you need to pay this type of tax and this amount of tax, and that is what we call as delinquency. Now, what are the inclusions for this tax amnesty delinquency? Number one, delinquent taxes and assessments. Okay? So, it's simple. Any unpaid taxes on which there is already a decision, final and executory. Number two, tax cases. Tax cases means you have filed it with the Court of Tax Appeals. That's the second one. The third one is there is a pending criminal case. Normally, when there is a pending criminal case in court or in Court of Tax Appeals or in Supreme Court, there is now that decision that you need to pay certain amount of tax related to that criminal case. Okay? And the fourth inclusion is actually withholding tax agents who withhold taxes but fail to remit to the BIR. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Say for example, any company, meron siyang empleyado, pinasweldohan ng empleyado, may withholding tax doon, the withholding tax was not remitted to the BIR. So, that is another type of delinquency. Okay? So, what will be the imposition of what would be the rate that should be imposed on these delinquencies? Okay? There are four levels again, or there are four rates. The first rate is 40% on tax delinquencies and assessments. So 40%. So if your assessment is or delinquency is total of 10 million, you need only to pay 40%, which is 4 million. Good deal, di ba? So that's basically a big reduction in amount. Now for tax cases, that's the second part, the second type. If there is a pending tax case, the rate will be 50%. If your assessment is 5 million and you filed a case in Court of Tax Appeals protesting the 5 million, you just need to pay 2.5 million, 50%, and you're free. No need to pay for the lawyers, you need to pay for anybody to proceed with the legal case. So that's the second one. The third one is if you have a pending criminal case, you need to pay 60% of the total tax assessment or tax delinquency. So if tax delinquency is 10 million, you need to pay 60%, which is how much? 6 million. So that's the amount. So the amount goes higher and higher. And the fourth type actually is what we call as a withholding tax, which is actually 100%. You might ask me, why 100% for withholding taxes? Because withholding taxes is not actually a tax on the company, but a tax on the suppliers, a tax on the employees, which has been deducted from their salary, which the company should remit 100% to the BIR. So dapat 100% talaga because it's not a tax on the company, it's a tax which is just being withheld for remittance to the BIR. So again, it's the company doesn't own it. So dapat 100% i-remit niya. Okay? So for the company or for anyone to avail, for any taxpayer to avail this tax amnesty on delinquencies, you just need to file what we call as sworn tax amnesty on delinquencies return. So that's another tax form which I think the BIR will release later on. Another document will be the certification of delinquencies. I don't know the form, but later on you will have that. It's a certification of delinquency. Third requirement is you need to pay the amnesty tax. I have given you the rate and you just need to compute, pay the tax with the bank or any authorized agent banks. And obviously, you should avail tax amnesty on delinquencies within 1 year. 1 year lang from the time and the effectivity of the IRR. Okay? So, again, what are the immunities and privileges? What are the benefits to a taxpayer who availed of this tax amnesty on delinquencies? Obviously, for those who have complied and paid the amnesty shall be considered settled, bayad na, and the criminal case, if applicable, shall be terminated. Yan, that's the benefit. Mawawalan ka na ng headache, makakatulog ka na ng gabi, hindi ka na nag-iisip na makukulong ka dahil sa criminal case. Okay, so just avail of this tax amnesty on delinquency. Okay? Now, having said that, we are now done with the tax amnesty on delinquencies. So we have one more, the last type of tax amnesty, which we call as estate tax amnesty. Okay? So again, it is estate tax amnesty. And what are the inclusions of estate tax amnesty? The inclusion again is similar to the previous two, which is unpaid taxes on estate of descendants as of December 31, 2017 and prior years. So for example, say for example, my mother died 5 years ago and she left with me a total assets of 10 million. 10 million is the net estate after deducting all the deductions. So that 10 million now is my total estate that has been left with me. And I did not pay yet the estate tax of that. So what should I do? So I have to avail of that estate tax amnesty. And what would be the rate? What would be the rate that I should pay? Now, this tax amnesty is really beneficial because previously the rate is 20%, ranges from low amount to 20% tax depending on the total amount of estate. But here, under this new law, you need only to pay 6%. Ulitin ko lang, you only need to pay 6% of the total or net estate at the time of death. Okay, so mababa lang. Now, if you will notice, before it's 20%, under the train law, it is 6%, starting January 1, 2018, it's 6%. But there is an estate tax amnesty law which is now, which grants everybody to pay 6% only. Ang galing, di ba? So even for those families on which their relatives died before December 31, 2017, they can already avail of the 6% tax, estate tax amnesty. So again, as a requirement for that one, you need to file a state tax return on which it shows the 6%. You need to pay the 6% estate tax. But you will ask, how about if my total estate is negative? Is the deductions made it negative. There is negative net state. For you to avail of the state tax amnesty, you just need to file 5,000 pesos. I'll give you one example. Your relative, your family, or your mother who died left with you 1.5 million house. However, with the deduction of 2 million, the net estate now is negative. But since you did not file the state tax return, you cannot transfer the name from your mother to you. So what will you do now? You just need to file amnesty tax return and pay the 5,000 pesos. And with that requirement, you can now transfer the ownership of the property from your mother who previously died to you at this time. So mawawala na yung hassles about paying all these things and then filing penalties, etc., etc. You just need to pay 5,000 pesos. Again, to avail with this one, you just need to file state tax amnesty return, which later on the PRRD will issue, and pay the amnesty tax. And you should do this, pay the amnesty within 2 years. 2 years. In the previous two, it's 1 year, but here you need to pay within 2 years from the effectivity of the IRR. But again, what's the benefit of this state tax amnesty? You will be immune from payment of taxes arising from failure to pay state tax for taxable year 2017 and prior years. So that's pretty easy. So if you will notice, this tax amnesty is really beneficial to all taxpayers because the government wants to generate at least, I think it's in the range of 25 and up billion pesos, so that we will have more collections to the government, we will have more money to fund our projects. So that is the intention of this tax amnesty law. And on the other hand, there are also offenses and penalties, which I would like to suggest that you read the whole tax amnesty law. At the end of the day, I cannot give you at this point, the video has been too long, but you just read the offenses and penalties of that one. Okay? Maybe you have read in the newspaper, you have watched in the TV, and you have heard in the radio that the President has vetoed the tax amnesty, and he actually vetoed the general tax amnesty, which is the first type of tax amnesty. So of all the 3 tax amnesties, only the general tax amnesty has been vetoed, and the effective one will be the tax amnesty on delinquencies and estate tax amnesty. So with that, I hope you get this update and you continue watching us.
This video is brought to you by PTxTaxWeeklyUpdates, a better and improved tax preparation and filing system accredited by the BIR. Taxes made easy with eTax, a free online tax preparation and filing system. Sign up now. It's free.
Thank you for watching our video. If you like this video, click like and follow our page in Facebook, and you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Philtaxes. And you may also like us in LinkedIn. Thank you very much. Subscribe now. If you have some questions, clarifications, you can email me at nusison@scp-ph.com or text or call me at 0917-534-4686. And again, this is Neil Sison, the professional in pajamas, also known as Accountant-in-Pajamas. Thank you for watching. Watch more videos in Philtaxes. Bye-bye!